everybody to my YouTube channel today. Thanks you guys for tuning in. I'm going to do a little video about my philosophy and going to end up talking about training and how I train now, but start with where I came from and my background, how I got into arm wrestling, what my goals for myself in arm wrestling are. I'm going to get into training, and then most importantly, I'm going to recap it or summarize it at the end with the mindset, and even give some of my fears about what could be goals for myself. All right, so my background, I got started in fitness when I was about 24 years old, 23, and I had a girl that I had a crush on, and I walked up behind her talking to one of her friends, not knowing that I had walked up behind him, and she referred to me as a little guy. Little did I know that was something I needed to hear at that time. That was like necessary for me. I got in the gym. I started randomly doing some dangerous exercise and not knowing at all what I was doing. Had a friend from work that I had mentioned I was going with. He was pretty jacked. Started going with him some. He started teaching me a little bit and tried to get me on a personal trainer. I ended up actually finding an online coach that helped bodybuilders prep to get on stage. That wasn't my goal, but I did another program he had for 6 months, and he taught me how to grocery shop, how to cook a lot of things, and how to train. It was really excellent. I made a lot of progress in his 6-month program, and then from there I was able to take things on my own with the knowledge that I gained from that, and continue to build on it and adapt and get my own things going that worked for me. Not too much longer after that, probably a year and a half, I guess. I had some people who were coming to me that were just co-workers, cousins, friends that saw my transformation and were coming to me asking for help. And I was just writing out workouts, just real basic splits for them and notebooks. I'd get them to bring their notebook to the gym. And so we'd work out together, and then it seemed like they would follow those things. I even made them like little simple grocery lists and meal prep options. And it seemed like people would stay with that for about 4 or 5 weeks and they'd kind of let it go. But it was something I did, something I loved. I never had aspirations to get spray tanned and get in a pair of underwear on stage next to a bunch of other dudes in their underwear on stage. That's just not for me. I think it's cool that there is that sport to the people that do like it, but just wasn't something I was interested in competing in. And after about 4 years and making a lot of solid gains and learning a lot of lessons, I found arm wrestling. I was actually at the gym in Pineville, Louisiana, and I was doing leg day, and in between my superset, I looked up, taking a sip of water, looking around the gym kinda, and there was a tall fella in there that was wearing long sleeve denim button boots. And so seeing how that is not general gym attire, I was very interested and went up and asked him. That was interesting, but I saw him sitting on the seated row machine and he had a country crush, and he was doing some roll and handle kind of wrist flexion cup. And not knowing arm wrestling was a thing at the time, I saw that and I had to go ask him. So when I was like, man, I got asked, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm training for an arm wrestling tournament, and it's kind of a lot about hand and wrist. I was like, oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So just kind of walked off, did another set. I got to think about it, and at that time, I had a boss at work. His name was Paul Hines. We were in maintenance at the Hellhole. That's what we'll refer to that place as. And he used to arm wrestle all of us guys on his maintenance crew, and he would crush us all and remind us regularly about it. He was very much a shit talker. So when I met the guy at the gym, after him telling me he was training for arm wrestling, after I did my next set, I went over there. I was like, hey man, I got this boss who likes to talk a bunch of smack. How do I beat him in arm wrestling? And he kind of right there tried to give me the basic ideas of what a top roll was and how to attack fingers. And I could tell he was a real nice guy. Something about him and the way his hair was parted over and looked nice. Even though he was wearing denim, he wasn't like dirty or anything. He kind of just conducted himself like a Christian. I just kind of knew right away for some reason. I grew up in church, and I guess I just kind of knew. So I got to asking him more about it, and he was like, yeah, actually me and my son are going to Louisiana State Championship in a couple of weeks. He's like, at each tournament they have weight classes, and then they have a pro and an amateur class, and we're not real good. We're going to do amateurs. He's like, you ought to come with us. Be fun. You could do the amateur for your class. And I was like, I sure will. That sounds like a great time. So I got the guy's phone number, ended up going with him and his son. And it was Louisiana State, big tournament, probably 250 to 300 entries, big one. It was 2019, May the 2nd. It was the first time I ever saw an arm wrestling table. And that day, you can definitely say that I officially got bit by the bug. I pulled amateur 154s, and I got third out of like 6 people, right and left. Took my first ever loss on the table, right and left, to Brendan Adams. And it took me 4 years to get that one back, any one of them back. But yeah, so I got bit by the bug hard. I saw that at that tournament. I was like, oh my God, there's this many people who take this seriously. This is so crazy. I'm like, why didn't I find this right out of high school, right? And so, of course, you know, in the following weeks, just videos like crazy. Every YouTube channel I'm subscribed to, just addicted to YouTube, learning more about this, and found Devin Laird, of course, and Todd Hutchings and John Brzezinski and all the legends. Started really watching and learning, you know. And at that tournament, I got to add about 8 or 10 guys on Facebook, and that next week I had sent them all messages, and I ended up in Castor, Louisiana. I had a practice with the Woolfield guys, and that's kind of where it got started from there. Fast forward now, I'm almost 5 years in, and I've pulled about 40 tournaments. So started practicing all over the place. I've been slowly building up a team around myself here. We have some guys in Ellick that do arm wrestle. A few of them are inconsistent, but we've got a big group of guys when we get everybody together. It's really cool. So I do travel sometimes for practices now, but we do host them here too. So yeah, in those 40-something tournaments, I went from an amateur getting third place who really sucked to not knowing at all and having a really weak wrist. Even top rolling, it took me like a year to really get the idea and get enough strength in that movement to where it started making any sense, I guess. So yeah, 40 tournaments or so, a few super matches, a few round robins, a lot of lessons, a lot of ass whoopings. I think they're very necessary. As a new guy coming into this sport, you have to understand that the people that are at the top of the sport have years on you, and in order to beat those guys, it's going to take years of consistently outworking them, and you have to do that through being more efficient in your training. We now know from the internet and different sources better ways to train than other guys did in the past. I feel like with all the knowledge out there, everyone's training is getting more and more detailed and pinpointed in. So yeah, that's one way you catch somebody. And then the idea was proposed to me whenever I started. RJ Moulinier was the man at 154. He was winning everything right-handed down here. And someone told me at a tournament, the first time I pulled him was the first pro tournament I ever pulled. It was like my 4th or 5th tournament within my first year. And someone told me, you know, you might have to lose to that guy 5 times before you get a win on him. And for some reason, hearing the number 5 was like very settling for me. Like that was, okay, that's what it's gonna take. Then let's get that first loss out the way right now. So yeah, it took me a lot of learning lessons to get some wins on him, but he was a big part of my motivation and drive. He and Brendan Adams to pushing myself to be the best I could to chase them. I got to get regular tests to see where I was at with them on my way up, and that was great. To having, you know, gone undefeated at Mississippi State, beating Brendan first round, and RJ not even getting through to having to pull him. But so yeah, so my goal, I got up at Mississippi State, I got up to number 13 in the country, beating Cameron Williamson. He's now 1 rank behind me. And then 2 weeks after, 3 tournaments in 6 weeks, and I cut 10 pounds for each one of them. So I did Arkansas, where I won these yellow axes behind me. I won it right and left. 2 weeks later, Mississippi State, cut 10 pounds for it, won it right and left. And then 2 weeks later, Texas State, cut 10 pounds for it, and I figured out that 3 tournaments in 6 weeks is too much. I went 0-2 right-handed for the first time in like 2 years, 2.5 years. It was a long time. That was very humbling, very eye-opening. So I dropped down a little bit from number 13. They put the whole top 3 finishers above me. I'm not going to say that that wasn't fair. So down number 16, but I have a big match coming up for number 7 in the country against Kevin Palco, coming up in 11 days now. I've put in the best work I've possibly done in preparations for an event, and I've had a lot of time off while also coming off of those 2 losses, going 0-2 at Texas State, that fired my training up a lot. And I've been very focused on this goal, and so now it's just time to taper and put it all together. All the work's been done. I'm very confident in the work I've put in. I do believe it will be enough. So, yeah, my goal long term for myself is I really want to be number 154 in the country. I don't know if it's really even realistic to try and do it right and left. I'm kind of, my left's not necessarily just a party arm. It's not necessarily just along for the ride. I do train it, and I want to win with it. I do like winning tournaments with both hands. I've had times where my right didn't do so good, my left won enough money, and it didn't cost me something to go somewhere, so it doesn't make sense not to train it. But, I mean, even just getting top 10 left and number 1 right would be, that number 1 right hand at 154 is my goal. I don't know if or when I'll ever move up to 176 if I do accomplish that, just because, 176, you got guys like Tevis and Duncan and Dusty. There's just guys that are so much bigger than me. I'm 5'9", and I'm not that wide in the shoulders or that long in the arms. There's just, at 176, I give up a lot of attributes. Conor McGregor used to say after one of his fights, he says, you got to have size, reach, length, you got to have attributes. Well, at 154, I feel like people aren't too much bigger than me, but at 176, I'm lacking some attributes. So I'll likely stay at 154 for a long time. Even if I can get to that top spot, that brings up a fear of mine. I'm not sure that it is really honestly possible, if I'm being real honest with myself. There's 3 guys at 154, and Cody Wood, Hunter Knobs, and Roman Gromov, who are all very, very good. They're very big too. It seems that those 3 have kind of separated themselves from the pack at this weight class. And I don't know 100% sure if it's possible for me to ever beat those guys. I might just be genetically not as gifted. I may never reach the skill level. There may be a lot of factors that hold me back from it ever being possible, but I can't look at it that way. I have to look at it as my goal is number 1, and if I put no limiting beliefs on myself, then I believe I'll truly get to see how far I can go with all my potential, instead of just shooting for top 20 and then maybe you get there, maybe you don't. I'm going to shoot for number 1, and if I don't end up number 1 in the process, I believe I will go as far as I could. I like to refer to this as the big future mindset. Devin Larratt did a video, if you guys haven't seen it, called Big Future. It was right after he had battled with DVT and then had the great training camp leading up to Michael Todd, where he put him at King of the Table 1 and beat him. Right after that, he did a video called Big Future. Really good video on his channel. You should totally go look it up. One of my favorites he's ever put up. And I think that's a great way to summarize the mindset that you should have. When it comes to approaching a goal in arm wrestling and trying to do this at a high level, is realizing that the people you're chasing have years on you, and you've got to make up that ground somewhere. Where you make up that ground is consistency. Don't take breaks. I think you should deload after a competition, week and a half, 2 weeks. Just do the exercises that are fun, workouts that are fun. Maybe take a lot of rest days in there and recoup, let your body go down so you can ramp back up for another peak. But besides those little deload periods right after competition, I think it makes sense to get right back to it, stay consistent, because that is how you make up ground on those people. Like you hear the term all the time, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. So that's my philosophy, and me looking at the bigger picture and the long-term thing of this. I've got to be more consistent than everybody else out there. I know Hunter's doing 2 a day, so it might not be possible to out-train that guy. You know what I mean? There's some things that may be limiting factors, but that's my goals. That's where I'm chasing. I think that big future mindset for anybody who, like me, has gotten into arm wrestling, has been bit by the bug. If you're bit by the bug like me, this is likely to be a big part of your life for the rest of your life. I think it makes a lot of sense to have that big picture view. Try to look at what your career and what you could accomplish could be, and all the opportunities and friendships made along the way, how awesome it would be. And yeah, think about the future. Think big future. This is just some of my background. Well, I decided to tell them more about training. I think now, instead of bodybuilding, strength is my goal. I still am a fan of bodybuilding. It's still something I'm passionate about. I like to do a 3-day split personally. I do use the conjugate method. I train on the conjugate method. I have all my clients in my online coaching program doing the same. Personally, I do 3 days a week at the gym, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's usually chest and back, biceps and triceps, and then shoulders and abs, or shoulders and legs. I train legs every other week. I'm not disproportionate in my legs, but I'm not trying to have big jack quads or anything like that. I am trying to make 154s. But I think it's healthy to keep the back from getting tight and just to stay athletic and well balanced, to do it once every 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm using those days as volume days. After I get done with those days at the gym, I'm coming home and I'm doing high rep sets with low weights on the table. And then Tuesday, I do speed day. I do 8 sets of 5 with one of 4 different moves with a band and weight, going for ready goes from start to pin. And then on Thursdays, I'm doing a max effort day. I do 8 different fundamental lifts that I'm trying to raise PRs in. So I do 2 every week, 2 of those lifts. I try to hit a PR around rep 25 to 30. So I'll go 5 threes and singles, and then end up where I'm right at PR around rep 25 to 30. So I can do 2 different sets. Once I fail out of weight, wait 5 minutes, try it again. In a sense, I like the format like that's worked really well for me. In the way that Louis Simmons says you can get strong with 3 ways: with volume, max effort intensity, and dynamic movements or speed days. I do agree. Personally, my training is not like that's about as close to like Todd Hutchings' theory as it is, because I do kind of use that format with Devin Larratt's training principles in a lot of ways. I think it is a lot about the hand and wrist, and the hand and wrist has got to be where you're spending a very large portion of your time in your training. So yeah, doing the speed days, the volume days in between the speed practice and max effort day. Those are my 3 hard, heavy intensity arm wrestling days that matter the most every week. And in days between those, my arm wrestling lifts are only recovery. They're very easy, very easy. They're just blood flow recovery rehab stuff. I find that this works really well for me. If I see need to change it up, I will. But for now, it's working really well. Since I'm full time with coaching now, I can do 2 days, a lot of days, especially on these volume days. Even if it's a speed or max effort day, I'll generally do whichever workout that is on that day earlier in the day, and then later on do some volume, almost like 2 recoveries before the next higher intensity day. But I am very blessed with being able to kind of set my schedule where I can like literally plan in time to do volume and whatever exercises I want. So maybe some of those things and some of the time I put in is not 100% sustainable for everybody, but I am blessed and taking advantage of that for sure. Yeah, so this is how I started, my background, my philosophy of training and how you should train, how I got bit by the bug, what my aspirations are at, my goals for myself and my fears. I'd love to hear some of you guys' goals in the comments. Tell me, what do you fear about what your goals are? Do you fear they're not achievable? I think if you're not a little bit scared of your goals, you're probably not dreaming big enough. I don't know if I would go Mr. Bowen delusional to the point with it, but dream big, big future, think big future for sure. So yeah, pitch in the comments what you guys' goals, what y'all's fears, if you're having troubles with reaching your goals, what kind of obstacles are in your way or what kind of challenges. Love to hear that too. I hope you guys have a great day and keep slaying.